Now, does that remind you of anything?
Live long and prosper.
Yes, but do you know who does that? Where he's like,
No, who does that?
that's Kit Boga when he's doing his
No
Twitch
way. Oh
streaming.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's
So when
such a
he's
legend.
Oh yeah. So when he's doing his so for anybody who's watching or listening, well, if you're listening, you completely missed what I just did. But if you're watching, we are still under quarantine, under self isolation. So we're recording at our homes, and
Oh wait, yeah, we should mention it's the Anything podcast, and I'm Aaron.
yeah, and I'm
And you're
Chris. But
Chris. Okay.
I think, but what I was saying is so. One of the things that we watch is Kit Boga, and he is a guy on Twitch, and then he also has some YouTube stuff from his recordings and dealings with scammers. And so, whenever he calls a scammer and needs to give information like a phone number or something along the line to keep that scam going, and he needs to mute out sensitive information, that's what he does. He'll go be like, shh, and then he'll be like mic or mute out the microphone and then go something like this so you can't see what he's saying, because sometimes people will be able to know, especially like a number. It's like you know what they're saying. So that's what I was doing when I was talking about how we were going to be quiet so we can actually like process this audio, being that it's recorded over Zoom. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, my lights were flashing. That's weird. There was
Mine
a,
were too.
oh, they were.
Mine were too.
That's weird. I wonder if there was an
Like
electric
my
flux.
studio light that's
Yeah,
literally right there was flashing.
that's what happened to mine.
That's
Weird.
so strange. You have LEDs, but I have CFLs. Like this,
That's
the bulb that's in here is a CFL. It's not an LED.
that's weird. I wonder if there's like an electric flux. Who knows? Super weird.
I don't know, but it's through, sir. It's plugged into a surge protector.
Yeah, so yeah, mine too.
Did it
It's
just do it
super weird.
again?
It's weird.
Did it just do it again? I'm asking.
I didn't see that time.
Okay.
So Kit Boga is a legend. He's
Yes.
he's the hero that we need in our time.
I want to
Did
call
you?
scammers. What are you talking about?
Oh, it's so good.
I
Um,
think we should call scammers. That'll be fun.
well,
We've been talking about it for how long to do, and
interestingly enough, the now that it's work from home, my work from home equipment has SIP phone on it,
really,
and also we have a different computer system too. But I don't know how the SIP phone works
ah,
because everything's pre-programmed. But if I have it for work from home, it couldn't be that difficult to set up.
no, it's not going to be like when I do my live streams for my YouTube channel and I do live call-ins. I use Google Voice, which is real easy, and you get a phone number for free, which
Yeah.
is great. But yeah, that's the whole thing. Like we're gonna have, if we want to do that, we'd have to get a few phone numbers and be able to kind of like call and do that, which I think
Yeah,
would be really fun to do,
that sounds fun.
and just to show some time. So I got something I got to ask you real quick because I just noticed this.
I'm listening.
Um, we didn't coordinate what we're going to wear for this today, did we?
No, what my standard gray?
Oh, that's great. It looks
Yeah.
from here. It's a little more on the greenish side
Oh,
because
okay.
uh, the American flag is behind it, so it has like a greenish color to it instead of like a gray. And I was
See,
gonna
yours
say
looks
because
your shirt looks gray to me. It must be our tones on
maybe
our computer.
maybe because
So you
yeah,
have
this is green.
that's green?
Yeah,
Oh my god. I must be
like
colorblind.
green.
See, I can kind of tell that that's green.
Well, yeah, I'd hope you can. This is actually, so I made a video on how to make your own disinfectant spray because you can't get disinfectant spray really anywhere.
Nope.
Although now you can. Like, I don't know if you've gone to Wegmans in the last few days, but they have,
Just now.
okay, yeah, they have antiseptic, or they have the hand antiseptic crap for $15 for like a
What?
freaking for like a size this big. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I ain't paying $15 when I can make my own.
I think that that's price gouging and that's illegal too. They're shutting people down who are doing that.
I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know if that's price gouging because it's from a distillery. So like the
Oh.
distillery, I forget what it is, what
Is it
distillery.
is it artisanal? Is it
Yeah,
artisanal
it's
hand
artisanal.
sanitizer?
No, you're paying for you're paying for the plastic bottle that it comes in with
Man,
the label on it. That's what you're paying for. Like this that I made probably didn't cost anywhere near that. I mean, it's distilled water, 190 proof liquor, which you need at least anything alcohol over 70 or yeah, over 70%.
was it the Devil Spring?
No, it was diesel.
Oh, okay.
It's 190% liquor. It's like, dude, I tried taking a sip of that and I'm like, holy, like that just burned like, wow. That's all
So
I got to say.
I thought you were gonna say you distilled your own liquor out of potatoes. This is my potato
No, I
liquor.
could. But the nice thing about this disinfectant spray is it's safe.
Okay.
There's you can literally eat and drink it or ingest it and you're fine. Oh, I forgot to say there's also essential oil of grapefruit. Yeah,
Okay.
grapefruit.
All right.
So you get a little
So
taste of grapefruit if you eat it.
it's just so I'm clear, it's 95.5%, 190 proof liquor, and then 5% distilled water. Is that
I don't remember what the ratio is.
it's
I have to go
95.
on. I have to go on and see what the um what that is.
You're
I
spritzing
forget.
pure liquor into your mouth.
Just
That's what,
about, yeah.
okay, good.
So
You only get mildly loaded.
I could. Oh, you know what would be really fun is if I got a drink, but it's over in the other room and I'm here and we're recording.
Well, there is good news, Chris. There's great news out there. It's a great day for America.
What's the great day?
It appears that the national toilet paper shortage is over. I went to the store today. I went to get antibody test, and then I went to get uh, essentials because I don't leave my house until I absolutely have to. And there was toilet paper on the shelves. Could you believe it? And not just only one pack left. There was a lot of, well, it wasn't a lot, but there was some toilet paper. So it
Wow.
appears that the national toilet paper shortage of 2020 is over.
Now, my question was, is it just the 8-pack or the 4-pack?
Nope.
Or
There
is there
was,
actual like is there Wegmans branded? Is there Quilted Northern? Is there Cottonelle? Is there Angel Soft? Is there a bunch of different stuff so I can pick and choose what I want?
I am proud to say, I am the proud owner of, I believe, a 6-pack of Angel Soft.
Oh, what is
There
that all they
was
had was Angel Soft?
no, I actually prefer Angel Soft, and I was upset when there was no Angel Soft, but they had other kinds too.
Ah,
I bought the smaller pack of Angel Soft because there were bigger packs, and I'm not a toilet paper hoarder. I don't live in a cabin where I'm going to be shitting my pants with no running water, as we already discussed
you do
before.
realize though that the only reason why you should buy the bigger like family packs that they have is because it brings the total unit cost down.
Yes, that'd be a smart thing. But because there
So
wasn't oodles of full shelves of toilet paper, I bought the smaller pack so that other people could buy the bigger pack if they had a family and they'd be shitting their pants a lot.
now
But
here's
yes,
the
it is
real
more
question.
economical.
Yeah, but here's the real question. I don't care about toilet paper. I have plenty enough. I'm okay. I also have the bidet.
Did you get the bidet?
No, not yet.
Ah,
I'm going to. Um, but actually, before I get to my point, going to the bidet, the only thing I'm worried about is that cold water jet going right up the pooper.
no, I think you attach it to the warm water. Don't you attach it
No.
to? Isn't there like dials where it's warm and cold water?
Well, if you want to do it that way, but you
Yeah.
still have to, you got to remember your hot water tank is not literally next to the bidet source. So all
Uh,
that water that has to run through and heat up before it's hot.
So even if you have a warm stream bidet, you're still gonna get cold butthole for some time. Like if you were to get in the shower and turn the shower on
Yeah,
before letting
like
it
that.
heat
You
up.
know how like it
Oh,
takes that little bit of time
no,
for it to get to your, it's
no,
not instant.
yeah, no,
That's the
no,
problem.
nope,
So cold water, unless they like wrap the or unless you could coil the um,
yeah,
line
yeah,
in like a heated blanket or pad or something and warm it that way.
yeah.
That's the only thing I could think of. But
No,
yeah,
I just no cold water. No cold water on the butthole.
that's the only, because like I mean, think about it. If you're going to the bathroom at like 3 in the morning and you're like, oh man, I ate something bad,
Yeah,
and you just want to go back to sleep, you
yeah,
put the lights on. If you have a dimmer, you put them on like the lowest setting so you can just barely see where you're going. And maybe if you just got to piss, you actually get it into the toilet instead of like all over the place. But if you got to poo and you have it on the low setting, and then all of a sudden you're like, bidet on, you're like, oh, I'm up now. I just got a cold squirt of water up my ass.
no, no, not doing it.
I'd like a little bit of warm water,
Nope.
please.
Nope.
So now, what was I going to say? My point. Oh yeah, the toilet paper is great and all, but what about now? There's people here. Go away, people. I don't want you in my house. That's the one nice thing about having. Um, if this person rings the doorbell, I swear, hey, there's somebody here. Can you open up the door before the doorbell goes off? Because I don't want the doorbell to go on. Blah. I'm just kidding.
Well, have
So
you heard the word of the Lord? For just a few minutes of your time, Chris, you can hear the word of the Lord. Is that who it is?
shh.
Sorry. Thank you. I appreciate you.
I'm recording. Shh. So no, I don't want to. No, but going back to the whole shortage is the Lysol wipes and the disinfectant sprays and I kind of need that. Like I'm kind of getting to the point where I need some stuff so I can keep continuing my house to be clean.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I mean, I've kind of dialed back the amount that I'm using, and just normally like wiping down but not necessarily sanitizing all the time, because I know I'm clean, I know I'm healthy, and that's fine. So I've been limiting the amount of use that way, because it's very difficult to find that type of stuff unless, I mean, obviously you make it, but the stuff that I use to clean, it's like not easily available.
Right.
And that's the only thing that I find trouble getting. Like food, I can get, except for Hungarian peppers.
You still can't get your Hungarian
I
peppers.
still can't get them. Well, here's the thing. I can go to Tops and get them. I can go to Wegmans and I can't get them. I haven't been able to get Wegmans Hungarian peppers in forever, like a couple of like a month and a half or whatever now. And it's very upsetting because sure, I can go to Tops, I can go get them there. The problem with it is though, they're smaller. And when you want to make a stuffed hot pepper, you want them a little bit bigger so you can at least get the good size.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a problem. But good news, there's good news on the home front, that I got Hungarian pepper seeds and they are currently
Yes.
growing. They're little seedlings that are sprouted and they're about that high right now. So, I mean, like I can see them because they're in the window. So they're like about that size. So I'm happy. And I got like, what is it, 10 plants or something? 12 plants. So I'm going to have a lot of Hungarian peppers and I'm very excited for that soon.
Well, things definitely get pretty sketchy there for a while. So when I went to pick up my work from home stuff to work from home, I hadn't been to the place of employment for a week, 2 weeks, about a week, 2 weeks and 3 days.
Yeah, it had to have been 2
Yeah.
weeks because you were in quarantine.
Yes, and that 2 weeks ended on, I think, either a Friday or a Saturday, and then maybe that Monday. But anyway, they had not approved work from home yet. So finally, they approved work from home, said you have to come in and pick up your equipment, and then you got to do a little training class. So we show you how to work up the equipment and make sure everything works. Well, I go to my desk where all my stuff was exactly where I left it. I open up my drawers where I had my cleaning supplies, and someone had taken all of my wipes. I always have 2 Clorox things of wipes. Someone had taken all of them out of each one and left just 1 Clorox wipe in each container. So like, why just leave the last one? Just take the last one. You used all of my wipes. My aspirins that were in my desk were gone. Everything was gone.
That's
So
bullshit.
yeah, so it's pretty shady. Now, when I first moved to the place I'm at, I didn't have laundry hookup yet. Go to the laundromat. Right at the beginning of the pandemic, someone had broken into the laundry room and taken the toilet paper dispenser off of the wall at the laundromat. So they
Oh,
had-
that was
Yeah.
going on all over the place. Like,
Yeah.
what's great, like seeing some of the videos on Facebook and stuff. Like, I don't know if you saw, like, because you don't have Facebook, but I do. But I don't know because you like
Getting
watching
one.
videos and stuff. So what's funny is they had like a video of this woman who like was at the grocery store and had like a little thing like this and was taking the thing and pumping their disinfectant spray or their disinfectant hand sanitizer and trying to put it into her own little things. So she had like all these little travel size things that she was filling up with them. And like people were doing that. And then they were showing like people stealing from restaurants and bars and different places with the toilet paper and stuff. Oh my God, it was insane.
It's bad.
It's
The-
like, really? Like, we're not at that point.
Yeah, no, it definitely weren't. And I like, so at the laundromat, they had the bathroom locked with a sign on it that said, "Due to the theft of our toilet paper, the actual dispenser, like someone ripped it right off the wall." And that was right when this first started happening. It was pretty scary. I didn't start getting a little bit nervous until about 2 weeks ago, and I went on my last food run before this one, where there was no salami, there was no ham, there was no chicken, there was no.
Well, that doesn't make sense because I've been going shop. Here's my dilemma. This is my problem. I need your help on this because I know we talked about it last week with the food, but this is my dilemma: is the eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Did we talk about that last time?
Yeah, I'm happy to go get the allotted number of eggs.
No. Did we talk about my issue when it comes to the limit on eggs?
Yeah.
We talked about that? Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't need to rehash that. But like that's the thing. It's like I have to go again later after we're done recording this. I have to go to the store and get it. And then I have to go again in 3 days and get more because I eat eggs. I eat 6 a day. It's like
because of the talk that we had, I bought eggs when I already have eggs. I'm like, oh, Chris said that he's having trouble getting the eggs because of the limit. I better get some eggs.
Oh no. I'm not having trouble getting them. Like I can
they're
go to the
there.
store
Yeah.
and I can go pick, I can see 45 18 packs just sitting there. I can see the normal dozen filled up to the brim and they're like, "Oh, you can only limit one." So you know what I'm going to start doing? I've decided I'm going to if they have a problem with me at the checkout counter, what I'm going to say is too bad. I'm going to say, "Look, here's the deal. I eat 6 eggs a day. How many days is that worth right there?
Yeah.
3? Okay. Well, here's the thing. I eat it and they want you to limit the amount of times you go outside, then you're going to sell me 2.
Yeah,
Okay?
you're supposed to be social distancing.
You're supposed to be social distancing and all that. But here's the thing. I don't care. Like, honestly, I don't care. I'm still going to go out to the store. I'm still going to go out, walk around. I'm still going to go to the damn park. I don't really care. Please.
Well, I'm just smart about it. Like the funny thing.
And that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's the whole thing. It's like I'm smart about it as well. Like I don't want to get sick, but I don't want to get sick from anything. I don't like feeling sick. I don't like feeling sluggish. I don't like feeling fatigue. I don't like a stomach ache. I don't like being stuffed up. I don't like any of it. I like to be healthy.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. Like it comes down to diet. So I know we were talking in the group chat the other day, like I mean, we talk about it all the time, but over the last couple of days, I'm like, I think I might have it. And I'm like, but the thing is, it's like there's so many cases that are so mild
Mhm.
that so many people don't know that they have it when they did. Like
Yep.
New York just had their antibody test numbers out of 3,000 and claim that they have estimates that 2.7 million New Yorkers had it. Had it.
Mhm.
So, and that's through statistics and percentage variability and some math that we could probably figure out. But they said about 13.7 or 13.9% of the state would have it, and that's after this 3,000 test
Right.
random sample test was done. And so it says, okay, well that means about or at least 2.7 million New Yorkers have had it. And that what was the number that of the cases that New York has
Oh, I
confirmed
can't
cases?
remember. So
Um,
that's what the
I
problem
think that's
is.
like
There's
I
just
think
no way
it's
to tell. There's no way to tell.
no,
There's
there's
no
no way to
accurate
tell.
ones.
But if that's the case, it's like, well, 2.6 plus million didn't even know that they had it,
Mhm.
except for the few 100,000 that went in that got tested that was actually confirmed.
Right.
And so that just goes to show you, it's like this thing is so weird. It's like if you have like a random problem or a random immunity issue or something, it like finds it and it exasperates it and it
Mhm.
attacks it. And it's like, if you're healthy and you continue to be healthy, it's like maybe it doesn't affect you at all.
Well, that's what's weird. So, and we've talked about this before. I don't know really what a Democrat is or Republican. Like, I kind of do. Like, people explain it to me, and I'm like, oh, I get it, but it doesn't make sense to me. What
Hmm.
does make sense to me is biology and chemistry. I don't like math, but I can do it if I have to. So, when this whole pandemic started really happening, and it wasn't in the US yet, but there was kind of fears that it wasn't officially announced in the US. We're talking about
Yeah.
maybe late February, early March. Well, because I love science and I love
No, there was a case.
biology.
There was cases in January.
Well, right, but back then they hadn't announced publicly, right? So the CDC is like secretly doing tests and tracking, and they don't tell anybody anything. But it wasn't publicized. All we knew in early January was, if you're watching like the normal news, is that there is a pandemic in Wuhan.
Hmm.
And then all of the sudden in March is when they really start saying, well, there might be some problems with the virus coming to the United States. There were some cases in, I think, Seattle, in a nursing home in Seattle that they announced, if
Yeah,
I
I think
recall.
here's the weird thing. Like, this is the problem with like everything out there is there's
Mhm.
so many different accounts and
Right.
there's so many different things. Like they said that there was a death related to it in Los Angeles, which that would make sense that Los Angeles would have the first case, or
Right.
even San Francisco, because it's so close to there and so
Mhm.
many people travel between Asia and that
Yeah.
part of the world because that's the closest part of the US really, except
Mhm.
for Hawaii.
So what was happening was every modern country that was able to relatively test accurately samples of people and groups, because nobody had enough testing to test even
Mhm.
a reasonable amount of the population. But any country that had enough tests to get a sample population found that the amount of people that were infected was a lot higher than they initially thought, and that it had a higher death rate than they anticipated. Now, that's where the numbers get really sketchy, because there's not a really an accurate way to say out of this many people, this many people died, right?
Mhm.
But all they knew from the beginning, from the jump, they were saying from the jump that this thing has a death rate that is higher, 10 times higher than the flu, right? And that's what, before the virus was even being announced that it was in the US, they're saying 10 times higher than the flu. Deadly. Well, of course, if you're an elderly person, you're talking about elevated risk, age, smoking, bad, poor diet, underlying health issues, of course they're going to be at higher risk. But the interesting thing about this virus is really healthy, we're also dying too. And they can't figure out why person A, who is running and jumping and skipping and eating a healthy diet every day, lived, and the other person who's doing the exact same thing, exact same age, died. And they can't figure out why.
Mhm.
That's the genetics of the craziness of the
Well,
virus.
not but I mean, we've talked about how different people react differently to everything.
Mhm.
Like,
Yep.
certain diets affect people differently. Like,
Yeah.
if you're trying to lose weight or get in
Yeah.
shape or whatever,
Yeah.
your body is going to react different than my body is going to react different to anybody else. Same thing with drugs. Like if you do, if you
Yeah.
smoke, if you do this, if you do that, every single person is going to react differently. But the thing is, it's all on the spectrum, and it's like this whole virus thing is so weird because
Yeah.
it like will attack you if you are unhealthy. But if
Yeah.
you're healthy, the chances of you getting it or showing symptoms is
Right.
so greatly diminished. But then the chances of you actually contracting it, having severe symptoms, and then even needing a respirator or ventilator
Right.
or
Very
dying
small.
from it are
Mhm.
so small
Very small.
that it almost doesn't register. Now
Right.
the outliers you'll hear about because they're going to be like, oh, this person was healthy as an ox or whatever. Okay, well that might be true, but what condition maybe that they had,
Right.
like did they now that calls into question, well, did they have something? Did they have
Right.
cancer? Did they
Of
have
course.
some immune issue that it attached itself to?
Right.
And maybe he seemed healthy on the outside, or she's on the outside, and didn't realize
Right.
that they actually had that.
Yeah.
And that calls into question then at that point, because it's like, well, I mean, if you look at the numbers, there's a lot of people who aren't healthy out there, but
Yeah,
it's also
sure.
not it doesn't seem
It
like
could
it's
be why we have
attacking
the
people.
could be why we have the highest death rate of any country in the world right now, is because America is not healthy.
Yeah,
But the
but we
weird
also have
thing,
you can't yeah, but you can't say it like that because we also have the most confirmed cases
that's true.
by far. So like the ratio, you
Yeah.
gotta look at maybe the percentage rate or the death rate you could look at, which
Yeah.
is the confirmed cases divided by, or the deaths divided by the confirmed cases. But if you're doing the antibody test and you factor in those numbers, your
Right.
death rate is much, much
Well, that's
different.
the problem, because those
And
tests, there's no way to, they're taking and depending on who's doing the studies as well. I read one study that they said, oh, a sampling of this many people in I forget, it was San Francisco or somewhere in California, shows that we did 1,000 people, and this is the percentage of people who had it. But the way that they advertised the test was that if you think that you've had corona, then come and get this test. And that's already biased. You can't, that is not a random sampling controlled test where it's just blind. You're advertising people who think they already had the virus. Your results are already skewed. Well, then when you read the article, they don't mention that that's how the criteria for testing was that they advertised, if you think you had the coronavirus, come and get this test and we'll test you. Well, that's not a double-blind trial where they're doing a random sampling of random people, and that's not an accurate portrayal. But then if you use those statistics and use a multiplier and say, well, this is how many we think that the general population has, you can't use that statistic even though they were. So you have to be very, very careful of the science. But what I was paying attention is exactly what you said. From the jump, right from the get-go, all of the major world statistics were saying that there's a 98 something percent chance that if you get sick, you're going to recover.
98.6.
Yeah. You're
Which
going to recover.
I kind of find that number a very strange number, only
I know.
because that's the average body temperature of a human
Right.
being
Yeah, it's weird.
when
That's
it's
what I thought.
measured in Fahrenheit.
Yeah. So that's what they said. And then they said out of that percentage, only a certain amount of people will even need to go to the hospital. Then
Mhm.
out of that 2%, only 2% of them will need to be intubated. Most of them will recover. And then there are going to be a certain amount of people who die. But right from the jump, they were saying that. But if you compile all of those people who actually do die, it adds up to a lot of people because there's 7 billion people on our planet. And I put it like this. We'll take Erie County right now. Now, the last time I checked, where I live, there's around 3,000 something confirmed cases. Now, those numbers are very skewed because there's, again, not enough tests for everybody. So out of the how many people they tested, there's 3,000 cases. And I think
But
there's,
again, how many people have it or have
right,
come across it and like
that
it
don't
came
know.
to them and never
Right,
affected them or have zero symptoms from
right.
it? And that's the number that I really want to know,
We're never going to
because
know.
well, that number can be tested through this antibody test. So many people are trying to go get it done even now because like that there's that, where was it? Well, not, yeah, you just had it done.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been thinking about it. I'm toying
I'm
about
doing
it.
my, well, that's what everyone says. Well, let me finish my thought. And then you're right though. So right now in Erie County, officially, they have 3,000 cases. Maybe
Yep.
they only tested 3,500 people. Maybe they tested 300 million. We don't know. Right. But there's 3,000 confirmed cases and there's been like, let's say 100 and I think it's up to 170 or 80 deaths. Right. I'm probably getting the numbers wrong, but I put it like this. Start at your closest friend, your closest relative, maybe your brother, your sister, your family member. Think of them, then think of all of their friends, and think of 3,000 people outward, right? And we can all think eventually of 3,000 people. We went to high school, we have college, and then pick 150
Shit.
of that
Shit. A
that
lot of
you want
people
to
have.
die. Yeah.
A lot
So
of
that's
people
the way I look at
have. Like a lot of people on Facebook have 3,000 friends.
Yeah. Now pick
They
150
might not even
of
know
them.
them.
Yeah. Now pick 150 of them to be deceased because that's what we're talking about. Out of the 3,000
I
people,
could pick 150
I
out of my
know,
friends list
100
pretty
people,
easily.
yeah, like, oh, yeah.
Especially the ones who are like, "Hey, have you
Yeah.
heard about this?"
Right.
No, I don't want to hear about it. Thank you.
Well, that's the catch, Chris. You don't get to pick. It's random. So what if people that you don't even want to die? And that's the way I'm looking at this thing. It's not. It's serious. People are dying. So I'm just going to stay home
I
until it's
think,
over.
yeah, but the thing is, people are dying no matter what. People die from the flu.
Yep.
People die from heart complications and heart
Yep.
disease, which is
Right.
the number one killer. People die from cancer. People die from, walking to go get their newspaper.
Mhm.
People die from shoveling their snow
Right.
because it's too heavy and they can't do it.
Yeah.
People die from, people
What's
from
the biggest killer right now? Car accidents?
no, I think it's actually heart disease.
Okay. Well,
Well, at
disease,
least in natural causes, I know that is. I don't know what the overall. I mean, I can try and look it up real quick.
but the difference is if you breathe on someone in a supermarket because you're too close to them and you're infected with the coronavirus and you don't know it, you're not going to kill them or a relative of theirs with heart disease. With this virus, you could. But you're right. There are living life. There's risks, right?
No, heart
going
disease
in a car-
is heart disease is the biggest killer in the world.
Yeah. Okay.
It's 15.2 million deaths in 2016.
So, I mean, the difference is breathing on someone in a store or that you don't even know if you're infected. You're not going to kill them or potentially a relative of theirs. This is what's serious about the virus is that you could potentially kill somebody, but also people don't realize that
You could potentially kill somebody by getting
driving.
behind the wheel and
For
drinking
Yep.
after you've been drinking.
Yeah.
And
So
that
what people
happens
don't
too
realize
often.
is what people don't realize is by shutting everything down, they're not only trying to save people's lives, which is commendable, but they're trying to curb the influx of people to the hospital because our hospital system didn't have enough capacity to help you if you were sick. So imagine you come down with this virus, you might not die from it, but you're sick enough to where you need to go to the hospital. You go to the hospital and they're like, "Oh, we don't have a bed for you. Here, stay in the hallway over here and just we're going to try to help you if we can." Could you imagine if that happened? But now because they're doing social distancing and keeping people home, the influx of people to the hospital, you can get the help that you need if you need to go to the hospital. That's the whole point that people are missing. And yes, they're trying to save people's lives, but we're just trying to mitigate the amount of people that are going to the hospital. So I'll stay home. Big freaking deal.
Yeah,
That's
but there's a lot. The problem is when you shut down the economy, that has more devastating effects than saying, oh, we'll just stay home, that's fine. Like, there's people out there who can barely afford food right now
Mhm.
because they can't get the unemployment,
Yep.
or nothing's been happening because they can't
Yep.
get through.
Mhm.
There's they can't go out normally, and there's so many repercussions to doing something
That's
like
horrible.
that.
Yep.
And then here's a crazy thing: the suicides jumped up so much because of this, because
Are
everybody's
they?
stuck at home because fear, everything that's going on. Yeah, suicides are
I'm
are
not
up
surprised.
crazy amount right
Yep.
now.
I'm
I
not
don't know the
surprised.
exact numbers. I don't know the percentage or anything
Right.
like that. Because I don't think they can put, I don't think they compile
Yeah.
lists like that until like a little bit of time has passed.
Right. I think they have other
But
things on their hands right now.
but
I'm not surprised at all.
here's my question: do they put those deaths down as corona?
Well, there's a lot of things are very nuanced. So I heard a lot that thought, oh, they're counting this and they're counting that. From the way I understood it,
No, they are.
this might be fake news
No, they
because
are.
we're not
It was
there.
actually confirmed. Like, I know where you're
By who?
going with it, and it was
Yeah.
actually confirmed. Like, they fact checked it, and it was
Okay.
like it's true.
So here's what I'd like to know, because I'm not there, and there's 17 different sources, and it's exactly what you say, is where is the right sources. So the way that I understood this whole thing to be, at first, if you got tested for coronavirus and then you died in the hospital positive with coronavirus and you died on the intubator and it was, you died of coronavirus, that counted as a coronavirus death. Well, then, since then, what they've been doing for the past week or two, we're saying, well, there were some people where we could not test them, but they still died from pneumonia related. We're pretty sure that that's what they died from because we didn't have the test. So they started counting those people. Well, we're on a slippery slope because if you're in the hospital and
They
you're
also get
dying
paid. Hospitals also get paid more money for
so
that
this is where I
versus,
don't know anything about,
and
and I wouldn't be surprised.
and yeah, and it's the same thing. Like, you get paid X amount of dollars for admitting somebody in the hospital with it. You get admitted X amount of dollars to put somebody on a ventilator. You get paid X amount of dollars for a corona related death. So do you think that's going to play into effect on how doctors treat their patients?
100%.
100 exactly.
It does. It's
And
impossible not to. When you have the incentive, somebody's going to take advantage of it.
exactly. And so I think it was Pennsylvania that changed some of their numbers around. And it was like right when that news broke that there were like the way things were going and how they were labeling it. And then Pennsylvania just lowers it by like, I think it was like 500 or something.
Okay.
And it was like, wait, what's going on? And it's just pretty crazy nonetheless.
I'm not surprised. And I mean, there's people taking advantage of every situation that they can. Think of all the scammers we talk about that are trying to scam people out of their coronavirus checks right now. It makes me sad about humanity, to be honest with you. But I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised at all.
Yeah. Did you get your check yet?
No, I did not.
Are you kidding? Like, did you go on the IRS website to check yet?
Well, if you want to talk about it. So in 2018, when I
You didn't
filed my
file.
taxes, I did not sign up for direct deposit. I had them send me
Okay.
a check. Now, I have gathered my tax stuff together for this year,
Mhm.
but as you know, the lockdown was March 17th.
Yeah. So a lot of
Tax,
people.
yeah. So I did not file my taxes yet for this year. So one, because I wasn't a 2019 filer, I did not automatically get the check during the first rounds of checks. And also the IRS does not have my bank account information to be able to deposit it. So
You can go to irs.gov and put your
that's,
information in.
no, you cannot.
Yeah,
So
you can.
you cannot. And let me clarify.
I just did it the other day.
Okay.
Well, I was going to, but I didn't have my tax information on
Okay.
hand. So my
So
check's
when you
actually getting
tried
mailed.
when you tried to do that, you might have found that you got a message that said your information is not available. And here's why. If you filed your 2019 taxes with a paper check, you could enter in your bank information to give the IRS your bank information instead of you're getting a paper check mailed out to you. Say, here's
Mm.
my tax information. However, if you did not file yet for 2019, you have to file. So that's the message that you get. Now, I don't know if they changed that, but that's how it was last week. Now, I read an article
Well, you
that
should double
said
check because they
today
update
they're
their
doing it
stuff.
today. They're
Yeah, they update
actually,
their
it's
stuff.
offline today. So hopefully, now for me, Chris, if you don't need the $1,200 and you're trying to be a good guy, what should you do with the $1,200 money?
I would say support local businesses.
Good. That's a great answer. I thought I was just I don't need this. I'm going to send it back to them. Do you
No,
think you should send the money back to the IRS?
No, I would say so if you don't need the money, I would say go and support local businesses because they're the ones that are hurting and they're the ones who are screwed.
They definitely
And
are.
several of them will not open doors again.
I don't think so. Yeah, it's a horrible.
And it's sad.
It's a horrible situation all the way around. Hey, man, I was scared without my job. Fortunately, I have a job. But you know what? The people who worked at my work that were not able to continue employment, they're doing okay now because the government did step in and assist them, which is great. They're getting unemployment and they're getting some Corona benefits. The $1,200 did help out a friend of mine. But my fear is
it's gonna help a lot of people out,
it does
especially those who are on unemployment or had lost their jobs because of this. That's definitely going to help. But the thing is, there's a lot of people out there who still are waiting on unemployment to even go through.
Yep. Well, that was the problem when this whole thing was happening. A friend of mine kept trying to register on the website, and apparently it was written on some kind of code that actually, if you watch the Joe Rogan podcast, Tom Green talks about his dad learning how to code the computer code that the unemployment program was written on called COBOL. And it completely crashed the system and they're scrambling, but apparently they have it all worked out now. It took him about 2 or 3 weeks to get the unemployment because he couldn't log on to it. But I mean, that was 2 weeks ago. He got it now and it's getting the assistance. So that's good.
Well, the thing is, there's a lot of self-employed, there's a lot of gig workers, freelancers, and they're not getting benefits really yet.
Are they not yet? Because I'm not up on it. I read.
Well, they're starting to,
Good.
but there's several applications that are still being processed, and this is going on a month for a lot of people. And not a lot of people have enough money to survive that long without being able to work.
Oh, it's terrifying.
And so that $1,200 check is great for that. And one of the big here's my biggest problem with the whole way the stimulus was. So, I do Uber and Lyft, and I do that on the side. Not.
You have some kind of website that I can go to check it out.
Well, the YouTube channel.
What is it? What's that?
Real Rideshare Stories.
All right.
But yeah, I'm not trying to plug that. What I'm trying to say is when they have that EDIL and the PPP loan, and it's like it's a $10,000 loan that is supposed to be for small businesses. So like you can get by on paying employees, you can get by on paying rent and bills and things like that. And Uber and Lyft have put in emails to drivers saying, oh, you can apply for this because you're technically self-employed. So you would fall under those guidelines. And like, to me, I think that's so ridiculous. Like, I get it. Like if you're a gig worker and your business is dried up and you're not able to make the same amount of money or whatnot, I get that. But that's what pandemic unemployment assistance is for, because you're getting 50% of your state's average plus $600. So at a minimum, you're getting at least $600 a week coming in. And that needs to be taken care of that way. And that's how you need to, not going and getting a $10,000 loan so you can go buy a brand new car, pay your car off or whatever. No. Let that $10,000 go towards businesses that actually need it, like brick and mortar businesses. And that to me, I thought was, because I do Uber and Lyft.
Right.
So I understand the expenses. I understand the issues with that. But I also own a small business that's a brick and mortar business. And so I'm still incurring costs even though my business is closed down, because I still
Right.
have electricity that's going there.
Sure.
I still have gas that's going there. I still have my phone, internet, and all that stuff that's going there. So it's still incurring costs, even though and rent. That's a big one.
Hmm.
And it's still incurring costs, even though I'm not open.
Right.
And so for anybody to be a driver or a gig worker and to go and apply for that loan, I think is absolutely insane. And it screws the small businesses that it was meant for. And I think that's insane.
Now,
And
I have a little bit of perspective on the business loan because of my job for the undisclosed location, but I've never talked to a gig worker now. Um, do you know any of the ramifications or specifics of the loan? Because the reason I ask is the small business owners that I talk to have had varied results with trying to get this loan.
it's a pain in the ass all around.
Well,
Like
it
there's
is.
so many issues with
Right.
it.
There's a lot of stipulations. And also when you get the money, there's stipulations on what you can do with it to be able to
Mhm.
keep the money as a grant. And it depends on whether you're applying through the SBA or the PPP, right? So I believe the payroll protection is to keep your employees where you can get X amount of dollars, and I can't remember the ceiling of it, but you provide your financials, you provide your payroll, and you say, we want to keep our employees
I think
employed.
it's and 75% of it has to be used for payroll.
Right. And then
So,
after
but there's
8 weeks
also
or
the
something,
EDIL loan,
okay. See, that's
and
what I don't have. Is that through the SBA?
yeah,
Okay.
both of them technically are through the SBA,
All right. All right.
and so that's the thing. It's like if you go if you go on SBA's website and you look for this whole COVID relief package and that, like, I filled out the EDIL and I looked at the PPP, and it doesn't, like, I looked at the requirements for it and I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't not like I can't apply for that because yes, I have a small business, yes, blah blah blah, but the requirements for it don't fulfill. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get rid of that, or I'm not gonna worry about that. But the
All right.
EDIL, I haven't heard a damn thing from,
Right.
and it's been like right when I was able to apply for it, I applied for it, and I haven't heard anything or
Are
seen
they out of
anything
money?
since.
Are they out of money?
Apparently, it went way out of money like a long time already.
So here's a good question that somebody raised. I don't know if it was a famous
Is
person
this
or
in the
not.
live chat?
It might have been in the group chat.
No, I'm asking, is this in the live chat right now? Is this on the Twitter live or the Facebook live?
Oh,
Never mind. You don't
no, I
live
get it.
stream. You wouldn't get it.
No, I get it. I get it.
Because you said we had a question that raised.
Yeah, I'm going to be on the book. I'm doing social media presence soon. Maybe tomorrow.
Soon.
Yeah.
It takes 3 minutes to sign up. You
I
put in
know,
your
do it.
email address and that's it.
I'm gonna do it as soon as we're done with this. So
Oh, okay.
yeah. So it was so difficult to pick what picture I want on there to represent me and everything.
You
But
know
anyway,
you're going to do like a cartoon of yourself,
I
right?
should,
Or
yeah.
some cartoon and be like,
Yeah, I definitely. So here's I didn't even think about this. This is not my original brain thought, but what was happening when people are applying for these SBA loans, or you're right, a lot of the companies that I talked to, they never heard anything back, because what it is they're going through their local banks, and the way that the loans are structured is that you have to go through the bank, right? Well, I heard somebody say, well, why are we going through the banks? Why don't they just get the tax information from the companies and put the money right into their accounts through the IRS? And just like the IRS is doing, right? Why wait for someone at the bank to approve them for the loan? Because of course, if you're a bank, you say, oh, well, this company has millions of dollars worth of capital and we have a great relationship with them. We know them. We're going to give them the loan, rather than, Joe Schmo small business who just has a small savings account and runs his business. So that's what happened. All of the money was eaten up by people who could afford to file the paperwork and have someone navigate the waters of the SBA loan and get that money, where an average, let's say, bowling alley owner who's applying for the loan, they don't have the savvy to fill out the proper paperwork and grease the right wheels to get the help that they need, and then all the
Mhm.
money's gone. But why not skip over the banks and just put it right directly, get their IRS information, get their payroll information. There's got to be some kind of way to delineate, okay, this bowling alley has 15 employees, they need the money, here you go.
And why does the bank have to get the money in the end anyway?
Right, exactly.
Like, yeah, it'll help with things around the place that and business that actually gets it, but who ends up making the money in the end is the
Yeah,
banks.
of course. Yeah. So it was a great question. Like, yeah, why did it go through the banks in the first place? But the other thing that I thought of when this whole thing started happening, you're right, Chris. It's between a rock and a hard place. We've got people dying, and then we've got people who are out of work. So I think the people who are out of work, well, the economy, we still need people to make toilet paper, do things, but it's hard to reorganize the economy to get those people. It would take months and months and months. Those people are out of work to retrain them for a new job, right? So the other thing is that you can't just print money, right? Like you can't, my
No,
economics
because it'll
teacher,
devalue the
right,
dollar by an
yeah.
extreme amount.
My economics teacher had a $1 trillion bill. I forget which country it was from, but they legit have a $1 trillion bill because they printed so much money that
Probably
their currency,
Venezuela.
the value, it was like, I'd have to look it up. But they literally legit have a $1 trillion bill that he had. And it was because you can't just print money, then the money devalues and it's not worth anything. And $1 trillion is worth like 19 cents, right?
Yeah.
Well, now, I think that why didn't they say, okay, the entire world is going through a pandemic right now. We're going to freeze all mortgage payments, all rent payments, all car payments for just a month or two. And then we're going to, that money's
Well,
still
they're
owed. I get it.
deferring.
Yeah,
So
why not defer it?
that they are. Most places have a
They
deferral
have?
plan. Yeah.
Okay, good.
So
'Cause
like rent and I mean it's the thing is though it's all due. So if you think you're going to just not pay that and be on your ass or whatever, then or I mean not be on your ass, you got another thing coming to you because all that's due.
Yeah,
So you're going to have to pay your rent, you're going to have to pay your mortgage, you're going to have to pay your
right,
bills. That's what this money's for, is
right.
to help soften that. And then if you're on an unemployment or something, yeah, you could try having your stuff deferred, but that just means the interest rates are
Yeah,
going to raise on it.
right.
I think the mortgage though is at 0%. So like if you were to defer that until like July or whatever its deferability is able to be done to, I think it has a 0% interest on that money where it's deferred. So like the interest won't go up, which is a good thing.
Right.
So that's at least good. But the problem is you still have to pay all that.
Right. Well, that's my whole thing was so they're like, well, people have mortgage and rent and all these things to pay. So we're going to send them $1,200 in the mail and we're going to release all these funds for small business loans and all these things. But why not freeze all of those payments and say, look, you still owe this, but right now we're in a global pandemic. So what we're going to do is we're going to freeze mortgages. We're going to freeze rent. We're going to freeze car payments. Anything you could pretty much freeze, we're going to put it on pause. And then either slowly defer it back into the system. Like if you had a mortgage, then maybe add on those 2 payments to the end of the mortgage or spread it over the life of the mortgage and just give people a breather rather than saying, okay, we're going to try to print all this money and we're going to give it to people to pay that rent and that mortgage, because that money, people still have to work for it. So nobody's generating income, actual income. People are out of work. So it's like a Band-Aid. It's not, we're in like a limbo right now. So
Well,
what's
it's
happened with all
also
that
never been
dollar?
done.
No,
Like this
right.
is like shutting down the world or shutting down the economy
Oh, it's
has
crazy.
never been done.
Yeah.
And so like all of these things that are
I
happening
know.
right now,
It's so
and
crazy.
like you could be like, oh, well, let's talk about what we can do for this aspect of things.
Right.
But then it's going to open up this whole side of things.
Yeah.
And it's like, where are we going to figure it out? And so I think now, because this has happened, you have a real world example on the many different factors that are happening.
Mhm.
And so now if something like this were to ever happen again, which we could get into some conspiracies that it could happen again in 10 years. But yeah, it's still, it's insane. And
It's so insane.
it's this fine line.
Well, I was talking because my job, I talk to people all over the country, and probably foreign people too. So
I want to talk to some foreign people in India and Pakistan
yeah, I know you
because
do.
I want to call out the scammers because
They're still scamming, but not nearly as
Ah.
much anymore. They're all at home now. It's slim
hey,
pickings now.
is this tech support? Hey,
Yeah.
my name is Bill.
Your
Well,
email
my-
is that is the
My
funniest.
name is William. Most people call me Bill.
Oh, keep
Yeah,
going.
I need my email.
That's so funny.
My
Remember
wi-
that is the best
my
idea
wife
ever.
deleted all my email.
That is the
Like
funniest
I gotta
thing.
work on my Bill Clinton voice, so then
No,
I
it's
can.
good. Dude, you're doing
I
great.
gotta get it done because yeah.
That's good.
Hi, my name is William. Most people call me Bill though. Yeah, I need my emails. My wife deleted all my emails. I need one from a few years ago that I saved from one of my interns. And my wife, she deleted everything because our friend, we had to take care of him. I mean, something happened to him, and
It's so good. That's the best.
I gotta get I gotta work on it, and yeah, I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna call up a tech support scam and use that and see how well it goes over YouTube's.
It's so good. I was thinking about it. I was 21 when 2001 happened, and I was more scared after that because back then, like, there was an attack and nobody really knew what was really going on. And
Mhm.
for a while, I remember for a whole year, I was really scared. I was in Pennsylvania with my cousin who was a year older than me. We kind of just hid out in his basement of his house. Like, you want to talk about conspiracy theories? Well, nobody knew what was going on then, and there was fear that there could be this attack and that attack. And I was literally terrified for a good year. And then we went to war after that. So, and I was pretty scared after that too. So I remember being more scared then. I'm not scared now, but this is the craziest thing that I've been through. Even just at the store today, I was wearing my little bandana mask and my little blue mask under it a month ago because again, I love biology and I
Well,
understand how
here,
viruses.
let me ask you. I know I texted you this, but I don't think you responded to it. And I said, a fart can go between
Oh
a
yeah,
pair of underwear and, or
yeah.
I mean, can pass through underwear and a pair of jeans. How do you think a mask made of cloth is going?
Well, you're
Or
exactly right, Chris. Fomites, man, fomites. Do you know what fomites are?
no?
You know, it's funny. I asked the people at the antibody test today if they knew what fomites were. They didn't know what fomites are either. So let's Google fomites and see what fomites says. I'll
Why
give
don't
you
you
the
just say
official
what it
answer
is?
because I'm going to get it wrong if I try to.
So then why are you using it if you don't know what it is?
I know what it is, but I want to give the exact definition.
Oh yeah.
So
Is
fomites
this the
are
Urban
objects.
Dictionary?
Are you ready? Objects or materials which are likely to carry infection, such as clothes, utensils, and furniture. Right? That's
Gotcha.
fomites. All right.
So
So
your cloth is going to carry the.
right. So the reason I had a gentleman at our work who I do commend him. He's very intelligent. He was the first person during the flu season. He was wearing the N95 mask.
No, hold
Right.
on. If you go like this,
Yeah.
I can actually feel the airflow just from. Like you could actually feel the airflow. Like
Correct.
I had my. I mean, it might be hard to understand 2-dimensional space on a 3-dimensional way, but
Yeah.
like I had my hand at least this far away from the clothing, and I can still feel it. My hand is actually wet from the moisture
Right.
and the heat. It's like that cloth ain't going to do a goddamn thing.
No, well, it doesn't. So what the issue is that my friend at work had the N95 mask on
Mhm.
because during the flu season, he wears it during the flu season,
Mhm.
right? And I told him, this is before this pandemic was even going on. But once the pandemic started, I'm like, look, man, I get what you're trying to do. I understand you don't want to get sick. I commend
Well,
you. Yeah.
it was the other way around.
Well, that's what I told him. I'm like, look, dude, I'm like, when you put your mask on, unless you don't touch your face all the time and you're not around anyone, you're not protecting yourself from getting sick. What you are doing is protecting other people from getting your disease when you breathe out. If you're sick, when you have your N95 mask on, the little particles that fly out of your mouth, you're reducing the spray, right?
Yeah,
And you're not even stopping it.
You're reducing it by an extreme amount, but the thing
Right.
is that's a
That's
filter
yeah.
that's designed
Right.
to filter out particles and stop
Right.
it. That's why when you put it on, like if you go like this and you're wearing glasses, like I have here, I'll put my blue filter glasses on. And I go like this, and
Yeah.
I you know, I'm breathing. It's
Yeah.
not fogging up at all.
Yeah.
But yet, if I put on even one of those like surgical masks
Mhm.
and you put it on, it filter because the way it's designed to actually filter out. So you could put
Right.
that mask on and do exactly what I did. But people are saying use cloth.
No.
And it's like you
uh-uh.
can't do that. It's not going to do a damn thing.
No. I mean, you might protect
And
a little bit, but I'm glad you're talking about this, Chris. So you know what? The
But I don't breathe.
emergency.
But the other thing is, I don't want to wear a mask either.
Oh,
Period.
I like it.
I
like it.
don't. And you know
I do.
why I don't is because if you do have something, you continue to breathe it in on a continual basis. Because think about it, most of the air that you breathe in doesn't get used or converted to carbon dioxide.
Right.
Most of it gets breathed back out. So it's the same thing. If you breathe in particles, most of that is not going to go on you or get stuck on you. It's going to just circulate in your lungs and then go back out as you breathe. And if you have something where you're breathing in through a mask where all of the air is going to still come in. So if there's particulates or something in the air and you breathe it in, but then you breathe it out, then you breathe it back in and you breathe and you continue and you have a higher chance of it getting stuck in there if you're wearing it for a long time. And I don't want that.
No, I get it. I'd like to see some studies on that because that's a very good question. Is if there's particulate matter in the air, and first of all, you're not supposed to use T-shirt, right? They recommend.
Oh no, people are using cloth.
Oh, they are because they don't know
because they can't get masks,
Right.
and then they're selling them for like $5 for a mask, and it's like that's not going to do a goddamn thing.
What they recommend, the CDC or what the official websites recommend using a woven cotton. Jeans apparently work okay if you have to use something, but yeah, if you get a surgical
Jeans, there's
mask,
that fart again.
yeah, exactly. But it's woven cotton. You're not supposed to use polyester. People actually study this crap, if you believe it or not. But I would like to see a study that exactly what you said. So let's say you have a jean mask made out of jeans, and there's particulate matter in the air, and you breathe that particulate in. What percentage of that particulate is stuck in the jeans initially? What particulate percentage makes it through into the body? And then what, if you breathe it back out, does it get stuck in the jeans again? Are you recycling it? That would be a good study.
Yep.
So for me, what I did, we had the blue mask. Then I had a bandana, right? Because maybe it's only blocking 30% of the things that are flying out of my mouth. But at least it's catching 30%. So it's better than nothing. And that's the way I viewed it. It's like when I had to go pick up my work from home stuff, there wasn't any mention of masks. I knew because, again, I love math and science and I love biology. So I knew to wear the mask, and I put my bandana over the mask just so I wasn't wearing the blue mask.
Give me your stuff. Give me my work stuff.
That's exactly what I went in there. I said, give me all my work stuff.
You're holding a pen.
Yeah,
Like this.
exactly
Hey,
what I
give me
did.
your my work
I
stuff.
did.
Pew pew pew.
That's exactly what I did. No, and I went into work. I had my bandana on. I go, give me all your toilet paper. Everyone was laughing. But I see. This is what I'm talking about. I was the only person. There were probably only 50 people left in my office by then, out of 215 that I work with.
Well,
But
because yeah, at that point you had to
they had to
close
reduce
down.
staff.
You had to
Yeah,
reduce staff.
and
Yeah.
so the people who were troopers were still in there, and so I went in there and I had my bandana on over the blue mask, but people in there didn't realize none of them had any kind of protection, and this was before they announced on the news, long before. So I'm like, okay, I was a little bit ahead of the curve on that one. But I went in there and people were like, well, how are you feeling? Because they knew I had been out of work for 2 weeks. I'm like, I'm all better. And just so you know, this is to protect you. I'm not wearing this to protect me from you. This is because I was sick and I don't want you to get sick. And I tried to stay away from everyone and just get my crap and get out of there. But what got me was that even though there's flashing signs everywhere that they're like, the governor is like, stay home, people are still going in the office like, la da da, I don't have television. I can't read the news. I didn't see that flashing
I'm
sign
not
on the way
bothered
to
by
work.
that bullshit.
Yeah, that's exactly. So then turns out that it took about a week and a half for them to get all of the equipment for everyone to work from home. So the last team, we'll say, which is probably about 15 or 20 people, 3 or 4 of them got sick on the last 2 days of work. And I talked to them once our stay-at-home thing got up, and they're like, I'm so sick right now. My two girls that I know, one of them lost her sense of taste and smell, but got a mild fever. The other one was literally taken out for 2 weeks. So I actually talked to. She's like, look, I was so sick. Well, we don't know whether they had coronavirus or not, but they were still in close quarters with each other in the office. They might have. Who knows?
Yeah. Now let's change up things from now to
Gladly.
going into the future.
All right.
What do you see? Do you see things when things do come back? Do you see a lot more distance, or do you see in terms of, do you think your business is going to continue on saying, hey, we don't need to have such a big office space. We can have everybody work from home. Let's do that.
They're not. Well, if my office, I work in a secured environment, so.
Well, I'm not talking about specifically.
But in
I'm talking about in general. Do you see more and more places saying we don't need such a large staff at work? Maybe they have to come in. Maybe we have people cycle in where they come in one day, and we can take, or we have one, like, instead of having 5 people in, instead of having 100 people, we only need 20 people. So that means we only need an office that fits 20, because people are cycling in Monday through Friday, and it changes. Like, your red team comes in Tuesday, then Thursday the following week, then Friday the following week, then Monday, and it cycles. So every 100 people continue to see each other on an evolving basis, maybe once every 8 weeks or something, however the math would actually work out. But then we'll just get 20 desks that, this isn't your desk. You just come in, you work, you do your work. You don't need all your personal crap. We're going to put in the papers and the pen and all that you actually may need. And you bring in your work, you're driving that, and cuts down on office space. It cuts down on bills, and it cuts down on things like that. You see that happening more and more?
I would be real curious to see what companies do have like a learning lesson from this, because now that they were forced to figure out the logistics of getting people working from home, I had to get the internet to be able to work from home. So when I called the internet company, I was talking to a very nice young man in Utah who had been working at home for 2 weeks. And the reason I found out that he was working at home is because I heard a woman talking in the background saying something very different than what I was talking to him about. So I go, well, you're not doing a very good job social distancing. I heard a girl in the background talking about something. It's like, oh, that's my wife. She's working at home too for a different company. Was talking to a different customer. And he said, we're working at home right now. Oh, how long have you been working at home? and for 2 weeks. And I was very interested. I would be interested to see a lot of things. So I think that people aren't going to take the social distancing as serious as they probably should until the virus goes away or we get some kind of a vaccine or immunity, or it phases itself out. Today at the supermarket, in fact, I'll ask you a question. We'll get back to the business in a minute. When I was at our favorite store, Weggies, today, when you go up to the checkout, there's a line when you get up to the conveyor belt, and it says stay behind this line and wait for instructions. So I try to be socially aware, and I know that you're supposed to do that. So I took all of my groceries and I put them farly on the belt, and they went up to the girl. Well, as soon as I started to go up to pay, some clueless guy came up right behind me, and he goes, the light on the register wasn't on, and he goes, oh, they just told me to come right up this register, and he's literally right behind me. And we're all supposed to be social distancing.
Well, some people are just socially inept.
He was socially inept. So how do you handle that situation? At first I had anger.
I would just be like, hey, I'm sorry, but would you mind backing up a little bit?
So you wouldn't do what I had the urge to do and go, back up!
No, because what's that going to do? You know, if you're going to be a complete dick about it and like make a scene, like that's going to take a leveled situation where this person who is who is making a mistake but was unaware of that mistake, and you freak out on them. What if that person is, you know, on the spectrum? What if that person is not mentally all there, and you freak out on them, and then they freak out, and all of a sudden the situation goes from this is escalated all the way up here now, and there's major issues with it. So it's like, just be gentle with people and be nice and be like, hey, you mind moving back a little bit and still finishing up here?
You know who he reminded me of? Imagine Biden.
I love Lamp.
I love Lamp.
Well, that situation escalated very quickly.
I love Lamp.
On Von Burgundy.
Loud noises. Imagine Biden, only about, let's say 10, 15 years younger. He had a nice bomber jacket on, had white slick back hair. Reminded me, when I got out of there, I'm like...
With the yellow car?
He
hey,
reminded me of a Biden.
Get in the car. We're going to...
Yeah. So just
where are we going again?
The funny thing to me was that you're in a public space where literally everyone is wearing masks and probably doing their best to try to stay away from people, even though they really weren't. But you know, everyone is at least trying to distance, and then you're like, I don't notice any of these social cues, and but I didn't do anything. I should have said something like, "Excuse me, sir. I know that you're not aware of the pandemic going on, but could you back up 6 feet behind the line, sir?" That's what I should have done.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, chances are nothing's going to happen from it.
No, definitely
and
not.
That's the whole thing. It's like the problem I have with it is that you're taking the human need to be around people, and you are 180ing it so fast and so hard that people are so unaware now and so scared to be close to other people. And it's like, but people need touch. Like, we're a communicable species. We like to be around people. We like to be, you know, that's why we have so many different things, whether it's a sporting event, whether it's, you know, going to a bar, local watering hole, wherever it might be. We like to be around people. And for the whole a month and a half agenda, don't stay 6 feet away. Don't touch. Don't cover yourself. Don't touch your. Yeah. And it's like reinforced over and over and over. So you go to a business and it has pads on the ground. This is where you can stop. This is where you're allowed. This is not where you're allowed. Don't go closer. And it's like it's creating this depression amongst people that is so like just becoming mainstream now. And that's one of the big things I'm seeing is all these articles now when I'm scrolling through Facebook. They're saying, like, you know, the stir craziness of this whole thing and the pandemic depression that's setting in and all that. And it's, you know, it's a whole social experiment
It really is.
that's never, I don't know if it's really been pondered before when it comes to this type of situation. And you know, you don't necessarily know how to deal with it, and you have politicians and legislators who are trying to do one thing or have one agenda, and they are sticking to that agenda without realizing that there's all of these new things that are happening that were unforeseen before,
Mhm.
like having this pandemic depression
Right.
and just these issues and stuff. And it's like what it's going to cause and the problems it's going to cause.
Well, that's
And
what my concern is. You had mentioned whether you think that businesses are going to be allowing more people to work from home or deciding that it's more efficient. I mean, now that I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of businesses are like, well, this is great. We don't have to rent office space and you can just you're doing fine on your own. So we're going to do that. I think that would be a good business model for the future. But the thing that I'm concerned about is businesses that are taking the hit right now. What's going to happen in the future? Our business is going to close. Also, for me, I know that as long as this virus is circling the globe, it's a risk. You're taking a risk. I don't want to gamble. I don't want to be sick. I don't like being sick. Um, I want to continue to social distance and just be, again, I love biology. I understand viruses. I know how they work. I don't want to get sick. Maybe I'm a giant baby that way. So
I don't want to get sick either, but I
yeah,
still don't mind being around people in any way, shape, or form.
right. Well, I do because I know that they could be carrier monkeys, right?
But
Or
that's
I could be a
but
carrier monkey.
that's the whole thing. That is the agenda that was pushed over the last 8 weeks or 6 weeks or whatever it has been. That's the exact thing. And it's like, but is that necessarily the truth? Like, yeah, it might be highly communicable, but is it really as bad as what they're saying? And all of the estimates that they said have been nowhere near that amount. In fact, the numbers are changing so drastically. Like I said, if you take into account that number of the antibody test, if that is an more accurate representation,
Mhm.
that's saying 2.7 million New Yorkers had it
Right.
or have come in or like, well, they have the antibodies in it, so that means they
Right.
had it, but
Yeah.
they had 2.6 plus million New Yorkers had zero symptoms of it, or
Right.
they were so minor that it didn't even feel like they had to even go to the
Yeah.
doctors to get checked out.
And that's what they were pretty much saying from the jump, because before it was in the US, it was in China, and then it spread to Asia, and then it spread to Europe. And other countries were a little bit more prepared. Nobody was prepared for the pandemic. But other countries like South Korea did a pretty good job of testing and then isolating and contract tape. They did a better job than we did, right? So all you can go by is data, right? So that's why I kept saying, even in the group chat, I'm like, look, all I'm going by, because it's so hard to get accurate data, and I understand how data can be skewed, manipulated, how different tests can mean different things. There's even with the tests, there's margin of error, right?
Mhm.
So all I was going by from the jump, right from the beginning, before this pandemic even hit the US, I'm like, okay, what is the body count? That's what you can only go by. So all of the estimates from around the world is like, people are dying. People are dying. People are dying. Like, okay, if people are dying,
Yeah,
doesn't matter if there's
but
100 to 1 or
again,
50 to 1. They're
here's
dying.
the thing. People are
So you're
dying
thinking,
anywhere. People
yeah,
die from the flu. People
yeah,
die from going, again, shoveling,
right.
and they
So if
shouldn't be
you
doing
can
it. People
mitigate
die.
those circumstances, those are things that you can control. And
Yeah,
it was funny.
here's the issue though, is what amount of those people had some sort of other issue going on? And that's the thing. So it's like, is
Right.
that really
So
the
you, as
cause
a
of death?
healthy person, if you got sick and you're in the hospital and you're intubated and then you eventually die, you're like, okay, well, I had this horrible disease, and all indications were that most of the people who were dying were elderly and um, gonna and have some kind of underlying issue. You're right. Of course, a smoker, right? we all know that if you smoke, you're going to have a higher risk of getting cancer than someone who doesn't smoke. But do people who don't smoke, do they get cancer and they die, right? So it's like, well, we know that don't smoke because your chances of getting cancer are higher if you smoke. But people who don't smoke still get cancer and still die, right? So that's the way I'm looking at it, is like we can only mitigate our circumstances. A friend of mine always used to tell me, because I was vaping, I mean, even before that, when I smoked, like, Aaron, you already smoke and you already, you vape. So why don't you just drink? I'm like, look, I don't like drinking. I don't want to. And they wanted me to do something else unhealthy too. I'm like, why don't you just do that? I'm like, look, I already smoke. So
Unprotected sex.
yeah, probably. I can't remember what it was, but they're like, you already smoke. You're already in jeopardy. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not going to add to that.
Mhm.
And that's the same thing. Is like, people smoke, they have a higher risk of getting cancer. But people who don't smoke get cancer and die too. So we want to
Yeah, but the
mitigate our
thing is,
circumstances.
there could be a lot of other factors on what causes cancer.
Sure.
So you're talking about smoking can lead to higher risk of lung cancer. It's a specific type of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, if you go out in the sun, you could risk getting skin cancer.
Right.
And if you live in a highly populated area that has a lot of air pollution,
Yeah.
then you could get some other type of cancer or something. So there's so many factors behind it.
Right.
Just saying that your like you have an elevated risk of getting cancer if you
Right.
smoke.
Yeah, a lot
And
higher.
you get the chances of getting certain types of cancer go much higher when you
Right.
smoke versus not smoking.
So
Like a non-smoker who gets lung cancer is much less. It does happen, but it's
right.
still much less. And then here's the other thing: they might not be smoking, but how often are they around people who do smoke? And that's when you
Exactly.
get secondhand smoke. That's when
Of
you get all
course.
these other things.
And
So there's
that's
so-
exactly what we're doing with the
and
stay-at-home order.
this
We're
is the
saying,
whole the
okay,
whole
people are going to
problem.
get
Yeah,
sick and die, but we're
but the whole
trying to
problem
mitigate.
the whole problem is you are still causing a lot of unnecessary issues as well too, and those are things that need to be evaluated. Like I said, this whole this people who are committing suicide is going up. How the exact numbers I don't know, but it's going up.
Mhm.
The people with this pandemic depression now, or this the being home depression, when you want to go out and you want to be social,
Mhm.
that's coming in.
Yeah.
All of these things are coming. Just the vast amount of money that's being lost due
Well,
to
that's my
businesses having
issue.
to be closed.
Mhm.
That's think about how many small business owners
Oh, it's crazy.
that can't reopen their doors
Yeah, there's no
and
winning
don't have a
scenario.
safety net
Right.
because they're putting everything into their business, and now
Right.
it's gone. Some
Oh,
of those people are going to be severely depressed. Some
well,
of those
that's what the
people will
problem is.
also, and this is the whole issue. So it's like, when do we get to the point where it's like we have to weigh the risks and say, well, we understand what's going on and we have a pretty good idea of the issues and what we can learn from it, but we also have to take care of the people in just their well-being of their mind.
That's
And
exactly what they're doing. So, well, the thing with mental illness, it's funny you mentioned that, because there is support out there for people if they're having
yeah, but you got to stay at home.
right. So you're not going to be able to go to your therapist and be like, I'm feeling panicky or scared because I don't know what's going to happen because I lost my job and blah blah blah. But they do have Zoom meetings and they do have support. But you're right. They probably need to find much better, because when you're in that state of mind, people aren't thinking, oh, I'm going to have a Zoom meeting to get therapy. Right. It's a scary time. We're stuck between a rock and a hard place right now. There is no easy answer. And what the professionals who are in charge of running things, for better or for worse, the intelligent ones,
That might be up for debate.
Well, I know it's
On
huge
what's
debate.
better and what's not. That's
Right.
definitely up for debate
Right.
on
But
how it's being handled.
Yeah, but the intelligent ones are listening to people who are presenting facts, that have hard evidence and facts. They're like, look, we
But
understand
that, again, the problem is there's so much bullshit out there that you don't know how to comb through the bullshit to get to the
well,
realness of it.
if we're laymen,
And
but there's
then you
people out there
have
who do stuff like this for a living, who I'm
yeah,
not
but
privy to.
here's the thing. Then you have people in the media and people in, high-powered positions who are saying and doing one thing,
Mhm.
which doesn't necessarily coincide with, the math and the statistics and
Right.
everything behind it,
Yeah.
which also doesn't coincide with regulations, and you have
Yeah.
all of these things that are going on, which is like not making it the right way. So like I said, you have media that is twisting certain things because they want clicks. Let's
Yep.
face it.
For sure.
The news media in the US
Oh, it's
is
horrible.
clickbait.
It's
It's
so horrible.
100% clickbait because they're
Yeah.
all failing.
Yeah.
YouTubers and that are thriving and getting more views because people want to see what, quote unquote journalism, whether that's real or not. That's not real in journalism on the
Right.
mainstream media anymore. That's the problem. And so when you have all of these clickbaity articles and nobody reads the article and they just
Right.
read the caption of it, and then they think that's the truth, when in fact you read it and it's like the article's title and the article were written by like two different people because
Right.
the caption of the article is not the same thing as what the article
Yeah.
says. And so you're having this huge disconnect that's even further because this is a reputable news source like, I don't know, maybe CNN
Mhm.
or MSNBC or Fox News that's doing this. And it's all of them that are doing it.
They're
That's the
all
thing.
doing it.
It's not one side. It's not the left. It's not the right. It's
Right.
all of them. They're all clickbaiting you. And the problem is nobody is reading the article because we're so trained to be this 3-second wanting or this
Yeah.
15-second. And so we just read that news headline, assume that's what the article is, don't read the article, and then you're getting all these things that are coming out there too, which are all satire.
Mhm.
So when people are just looking, they're not even looking to see what the site is. They're not saying, oh, this is The Verge, this is Vox, this is MSNBC, this is Daily Mail.
Right.
This is, they're not looking at that. So they're sharing it, and then it's getting shared and shared and shared and then reposted. And you see another article that's got a little bit different of a headline, but it's kind of the same. And so it reinforces that first article. That's the problem.
Yep. For
So
sure.
when you say, oh, well, I got to look at the stats and the figures and that, it's going to take a lot more effort
It
for a
definitely
lot
does.
of people
Well, they
who
don't
may
even
not
look.
have that ability.
Yeah. They don't know how to even look like that. I'll give you a perfect
So
example.
you can't, and the thing is, you can't discount somebody because of that.
I don't discount them. They're just
That's not a lot of people. A lot of people don't do that. They don't want to. They don't have the
no.
time. They
Or
don't have
who
the
has the
ability.
time? Yeah, that's why I listen to the people who go to school to learn how to do this stuff and actual study, do the research. That's who I listen to. I have a
Yeah,
perfect example.
and the only problem with the people who research and do this stuff is they don't know the shit either because it's all brand new.
Well, it's when it comes to this virus, you're right. So
It's
for
not.
example,
It's
yeah,
novel coronavirus because
right.
it's brand new. So
Yeah.
you can't hear somebody talking 4 weeks ago on a podcast saying, well, this is the research that we've done or this is what we found, because half of that has already been disproven or
Right.
changed upon. And so it's like, as it's being evolved and learning, but the problem is there's so much bullshit and so much things that's like,
Well, that's what
all
the
right,
problem
let's
is.
calm it down.
Yeah.
And here's the crazy part. Even those clickbait articles are fact checked, and you see them underneath on Facebook, and it'll say this article is true.
This is
And it's
ridiculous.
like,
See, I don't.
but the thing is, you don't look at the article and what they break. If you look at the fact check shit,
Mhm.
it breaks it down to say like, maybe it might say that like the title is misleading, but the
Right.
article itself is true. So it's like, you're
Well,
backing up the same bullshit.
yeah, I'll give you an example. So the coronavirus, the reason that it is a respiratory illness is because the structure of the virus has a spike on it that when you breathe it in, it hooks into the cells in your nose, in your throat, there's specific types of cells in your nose and in your throat and in your lung tissue
Yeah, it's like
that
the
has a
enzymes that break down your
receptor.
food.
Right. Well, similar, but so those cells that are in your throat,
It's like the proteins and that work together. Yeah.
right. So there's a specific cell in your throat that it's the ACE2 receptor. Now I don't know what that ACE2 receptor is because it's been 10 years since I've been in biology. But it hooks on, it has a little spiky thing that fits like a lock into a key, right? And a key into a lock. So that little protein on the virus hooks into a receptor in the specific cells, and then that's what causes the illness, and that's what causes you to get overwhelmed. Now, when this virus first came out, they had to sequence the RNA and try to figure out how this thing was hooking into your cells. They finally figured out, using scientific methods, that they believe that it's the ACE2 receptor that it's hooking into, right? And I'm probably getting all of this wrong because it's been a month and a half since I've read anything about this, but that's the last that I remember. Anyway, when I went to get my antibody test today, I said, okay, what is the margin of error on this test? Is it, is there going to be a false positive? How accurate is it? Are you going to be like 99.999% sure that if I test positive, it's a true positive? The reason I ask that is because there's a lot of tests out there that are only 80% accurate or 95, who knows? So I wanted to make sure that I'm getting an accurate result. Well, then the girl who was explaining to me the antibodies, she said, you need to have not had symptoms for 10 days and back. And we think that you'll have antibodies. There's my microphone bump. So she said, we think we'll have every time. So we think you'll have antibodies in your body from 10 days of being symptom free. Have you had any symptoms from previously 10 days? I go, no. I go, okay, well, how long back do you think these antibodies last? She said, we're pretty sure that if you had it recently, within the month or two, maybe even a year, you still have the antibodies in your body. We're pretty sure that you still have them. The science is still out on that. They think that people who have had been mild exposure to the virus are showing low levels of antibodies even after they've gotten over it. So the science is still even out on that. But more importantly is that she mentioned, well, we don't know if you're going to have immunity. So every year when you get the flu, you're most likely getting a different strain of flu. And the flu from the year before that, you probably have had an immunity to it because your body already had it and you built up some immunity.
Yep.
The science is still out on this particular virus because we don't have enough data. And that's what they're tracking right now. And they're probably using my blood to track and are going to be doing a lot of research in the future. But these are the people that I listen to. I listen to the people who are...
But the thing is, there's no concise results right now.
Right, that's exactly my point.
Because I've heard things being thrown out saying, oh, this is going to go away and this is a one-time shot and once it's over, it's over. Then I've heard things that say this could be like the flu where it could come back every single year.
Right.
Then I've heard, oh, it doesn't like heat. Oh, but it can be okay in heat. And then, oh, it doesn't like sunlight. Oh, and you hear all of these things going back and forth all the time because one test or one scientific study determines one facet of it, while another study can determine another facet, and each thing is going to be different.
Most of the time when you hear these different kind of miss things, it's somebody misinterpreting what they're reading in an article, and you're right. So for example, UV. Under UV light, it's pretty much the same with a lot of different kinds of viruses. UV light destroys viruses. When they're out in the environment, if it's on a surface and it gets sun on it, the UV breaks down the protein that's in the virus and it renders it inert, right? That's why when you breathe out and you're breathing little tiny droplets, if a little tiny droplet from my lip gets into your nose, it's a protective bubble that could infect you. But if that lands on a table and eventually the sun hits it, it's going to kill it and then it's not effective anymore. But that doesn't mean you can shine light into people and help them. It doesn't work that way. If you shine UV light into somebody, it's also going to break down the molecular structure of their DNA and damage their body too. So you're going to kill the virus and also kill your DNA. So you don't want to do that.
What
right?
about the UV light therapy that's already been
Well,
happening
that's what I'm
for
talking about.
several
Yeah.
decades
Yeah, to put it like you're damaging your
or
cells
for
and
several years? I don't know how long it's been around.
right,
I think it's been around for
right.
actually it's been
So
around for a couple decades, I
what
think.
happens is you have a protective coatings in your skin that help
Yeah,
mitigate the
we don't need to get in the science of that. We're not breaking this shit down.
right. So, but
Actually,
that's the
we're
whole
gonna
thing.
wrap it up because I got to go to the store
Oh, okay.
before they close.
All right. Let me
So,
think. All right. Anyway, we just have to wait for the scientists to do their experiments to find out whether it's going to come back every year, to find out whether we're going to be able to have immunity.
you're not going to know until next year.
No,
Let's face
definitely
it.
not. At least, because they have to do all the tests. And we're all in a giant petri dish experiment right now with the economy, with the new virus, with our
All right.
response to the virus.
Let me be completely honest, and we're going to end on this note right here. This is why Elon Musk wanted to go to Mars.
I get it.
We talked about this previously. Why does Elon want to go to Mars? Why can't we fix the problems here? Well, guess what? Case in point.
Hey, man,
it's
I'm with
it's
you.
not theoretical anymore.
Yeah.
It's really happening.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because remember I kept saying until we figure out how to cure diseases, nobody should go to Mars and contaminate Mars. Remember I kept saying that?
Yes,
Can you
but
imagine being
he
on
wants
Mars
to
with
live.
coronavirus?
He wants
you-
to live. So
Could
there you
imagine?
go.
Yeah, but could you imagine being on Mars with coronavirus? What would you do then?
I just drink another couple Coronas. I'd be like,
Yeah, see?
pour it
I
back
think
down.
this pandemic is a perfect argument of why we're not advanced enough to get to another planet yet.
No, that's just not true because it's going to say that new viruses are going to come around all the time. And we just don't know what's going to make the jump, when and how it's going to look when it does. And I think that's the reason why we don't need to solve all of the world's problems, because there's new problems that are going to arise once we solve one problem. It's like Medusa, or what is it? The snakes. Once you cut
Medusa.
one head off,
Oh, the Hydra.
the Hydra, yes.
Yeah.
You cut one head off, 3 more appear.
Yeah.
That's the same thing. Once you solve one problem, a new problem arises. Just like this disease was, you have a stay-at-home order. Okay, well, now we have more problems. We have the
Mhm.
economy problem. We have the social anxiety problem that people are facing when it comes to everything that's going on with their own health and capabilities mentally, in terms of their depressions and things along that nature. You know, we solved one problem by calling social distancing, but yet we've had many
Oh,
more.
It's a
So
horrible
right there,
situation.
that is, again, why do we have to solve all of the world's problems? Because every time we solve a problem, a new problem
New
will
one pops up.
arise.
So we just flee the planet.
We're
You know, I
not
have
going,
one-
but that's the whole thing. So
I have one comment, and then you can wrap it up. I was thinking about Elon Musk today. All right, I was talking with a friend of ours. Okay, so Elon Musk has Hyperloop, the Boring Company, SpaceX, Tesla, then
flamethrower.
the Solar Roof, Flamethrower, and then I forgot Neuralink. Right?
Yeah.
How does he have time to do all of this shit? How is
Well,
he doing it?
He sleeps 13 minutes a day. He is a artificial robot sent from Mars.
It really is.
Here's the thing. He's an artificial robot sent from Mars. He's trying to get back to Mars.
He's trying to go back home.
All he wants to do is go home.
That's
And
what he's
so here's the
doing.
thing. But he's figured out and hacked a time management schedule that allows him to do that. And then the amount of funds that you're able to get. Now, he does not have a lot of money. His businesses do. He does not. And this has been the same since PayPal. This has been the same since other times where it's been like that.
Oh, I forgot all about PayPal.
Yeah, but I don't think he owns that anymore.
No, he
does
just sold it. That's
Yeah.
that's how he sold PayPal to start like SpaceX and all of his crazy
Mhm.
adventures. Well,
So, but that's the whole thing. Like the way, if you can learn how to get funding and you can learn to get grants or military or, you know, different spending from different places, then you can have very smart people stay there and do different things in terms of how to get certain things done. So what he does, like his weekly schedule is, I allocate this amount of time towards this aspect, I allocate this amount of time towards this aspect, this amount of time towards that, and you just pay attention to that without getting distracted. Pay attention to that without getting distracted, and you pay attention to that without
Plus
getting other
delegating.
distracted.
Yeah. You
So
have to be a master
he's
delegator.
no, it's you have to be a master disciplinator, which
Yeah.
means you have to have the discipline to be able to focus in about for this amount of time and this amount of time only without being distracted from these other things, because this timing that you have to focus over here is not going to affect the decisions that you have to talk about or think about or do on this aspect.
Yeah.
Plus, he's got just this killer mind that he can remember apparently people and names and faces, meeting them one time from what I've
Crazy.
heard. I don't know if
That's
that's
crazy.
how true that actually is, but from
Well,
people
just
I've
watching
heard,
him on Rogan when he was describing engineering
oh,
concepts.
just listening to him
Yeah.
talking on Rogan
Yeah.
clearly
And plus,
shows.
I could tell he was really nervous and not as forthcoming as he would
Well,
have been if he was in a
he
comfortable
was
situation.
nervous, yes, but I think but to me, I didn't pick up on the like I picked up on it a little bit because I think when we were listening to it or watching it, I think we talked a little bit about how the demeanor was. To me, where I wasn't really picking up on that, I was picking up on him having like 19 different ideas going
Mhm.
off all at once,
Yeah.
and it's bottlenecked trying to get out of his mouth.
Well, that's why he's doing Neuralink, so that he could spew all these ideas out to people. But I could tell that he was very calculated with what he was saying. He was very conscious of what he was saying. Whereas most people, when they talk, they give some thought about their idea, but he would actually pause and really formulate his thought and then think, do I want to say this? How do I want to say it? And at the beginning. And then he got a lot more loose, of course. But he's
Yeah,
amazing.
'cause
So
you need that time to set him. But again, like I
Yeah.
said, I wasn't looking at that. Yeah, I got that at the beginning, but as you see him talking and trying to formulate the thought, the speech behind the thought process,
Yeah.
you can see all these other things
yeah,
going
he's on
on,
another level.
and yeah, it's a whole different level for
So
him.
here's my question. There's always the classic movie where the alien crashes their spaceship and they need some kind of flux capacitor for their spaceship or some kind of tool to fix it, and then they could fly away, right? Do you think that that's what happened to Elon Musk? Did he crash his spaceship and he's
No,
just trying to
I
build all these new spaceships to go back home? Is
Well,
it the classic
if you
movie
believe
that
in
we
the
never
Martian,
thought about?
if you believe in the Martian theory that we're all from Mars and we need to escape Mars because we screwed it up,
Yeah.
then or you could talk about the MCU with the Eternals and the Celestials and all that stuff too, and get into that. But we'll save that for the movie when it comes out next year. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up though, because it's already 10 after 9, and I gotta get to the store before 10 so I can get all my shit because I gotta get my eggs for tomorrow morning. So, any last thoughts?
No, I don't
Aaron?
have a quote this time. I slacked, so this will be the one time that we don't have a quote. But you know, Chris, when you need to get your eggs, just go in the store, get your eggs, put them in your car, go back into the store and go to a different aisle and get more eggs.
I don't need 3 different times to buy stuff.
Yeah.
All right, that was the Anything podcast.
I did my best impression of Aaron.
I did my fantabulous impression of Chris. Now, if only I could get this to flip, that would be hilarious. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye, everyone.